What's going on, everybody? This is Brian Mazik, aka Unique Mazik, the hardest working man in sports and gaming. How y'all feel? All right, all right, all right. What's going on, Nelson Blake the second?
Hey man, how you doing? Great day today.
I'm doing pretty good. I'm doing pretty good. I feel pretty splendid, I must say. How was your day?
Busy man. Mostly been really busy with work lately. A lot of work to do. As you know, I am working two jobs, so
Yeah.
sometimes that's just how it goes.
Yeah, I understand. I understand. You work in several jobs, and that's good because that means you get to continue to eat.
Absolutely,
And
I like that.
yes, lights.
Despite keto, I still like eating.
Yes, fancy stuff like gas, and that's you can't just have that. Bro Matt, the show just started. The show just started, and Bro Matt is throwing shots at the Bulls. I got something for you a little later on, bro, Matt, and all that horrible stuff you're talking about. What's going on, Lorenzo? Thank you very much, sweetheart. I appreciate you. I'm not talking to you, Lorenzo. I was talking to my wife. She just brought me something. So
D Johnson asked if I'm Jamaican. I'm half black, half Panamanian. Well, half African American, half Panamanian.
Yes, he is. And I am half black and half blacker.
Mm-hmm.
So I just want y'all to know.
I think you all blacker.
All blacker. I am. I'm all black. I'm all straight cash, homie. Yes. So let's see. You're getting old when you start doing stuff like what I just did right there. I didn't even realize I did it. When you start pointing just at the end of it, that's when you know you're getting old. Hit. It's like a little self-affirmation thing that I think you don't necessarily need when you're in your 20s. At any rate, I appreciate everybody coming through. So we want to talk first and foremost about this contest. And I don't know if you guys have heard about it. I've been putting it on Twitter I think I started it yesterday or last night and been doing it throughout the day. We're doing a 450,000 VC contest on NBA 2K. The video is coming to you at 4 p.m. tomorrow. You gotta watch the whole video, right? You can't skip around and all this kind of stuff. That's the whole point. It is 10 trivia questions. And now these questions are not easy. I'm just letting y'all know. Ain't gonna be no this great Chicago Bull number 23 had his number retired. Who is he? It ain't gonna be none of that. It's not that. It's not that. This is real. This is real stuff. The first person to get all 10 questions correct will get 450,000 VC on the console of their choice, PS4, Xbox One, whatever floats your boat. I'm just saying. So if you are down for that, if you feel like you have a chance, if you whatever, just come holler at your boys tomorrow at 4 p.m. Watch the video and make sure you follow the directions, though, because that's the thing. I already know I'm going to have somebody that somewhat comes up with something correct, and they're going to be like something, they're not going to follow all the directions, and then they're going to be mad. I already know what's going to happen because it's the internet, and that's just what happens, But, okay, so here's the thing. You got to spell everything correctly.
Well, don't let them know the rules. They got to watch the video for the rules.
Yes, watch the video for the rules. I'm sick of I tweeted the rules out earlier, though.
Well, that's fine. But, for everybody here, and here's the thing. The rules are all stated. You should follow them very carefully, but just understand that the answer to every question may or may not be Derrick Rose. I'm not saying the answer.
You see me, right? You see me looking at you, don't you?
I'm just saying, if somebody answered Derrick Rose to every question, they might wind up winning.
You might. Because D Rose, did you see what D Rose did last night and what he's doing tonight?
Yeah, he looked good, man. Derrick was great.
Tonight he's got 23 on 10 for 12 shooting.
Yeah, if the Pistons make the season, make the playoffs, if Blake Griffin can stay healthier, he'll be a big reason. They need and Luke Kennard, that boy.
Oh man, he had 30 off the bench yesterday.
Woo! He got that wrist popping.
Yeah, he said that See, Render just said all 10 answers are probably spelled Derrick Rose. See, there's a lot of evil people that
they
come
understand
here.
the show, Brian.
There's a lot of mean people that come here, and
They know the show.
you know how
Loyal
Cheers, you know
viewers.
how the bar and Cheers is where everybody knows your name. I think this place is where everybody loves to hate you. I think that's what this is. It's a bad place. I
Listen,
don't know why I
I
keep
come
coming
in
back to this
peace
place.
and love Derek Martell Pooh Rose.
I don't understand
Scored
why I keep
27 points tonight on 16 shots. He's having a fine season. He might need to be the starter of that team.
Well, you know what? That was the talk earlier
Because
because
he's
everybody's
a lot better than Reggie Jackson.
yeah, I think
He's a
he's
little
better
bit
than
a
that.
lot better than him.
But here's the problem though. They lost they're losing to Atlanta by 13. So that's the problem that I have with this whole thing. But they did win last night.
Yeah.
So that was good. Trae Young's got 31 points, 4 rebounds, 8 assists. He does have 5 turnovers, but he's 6 of 9 from 3. That young fella's a fool. That young fella's a fool.
I tweeted this out from the At Me Bro account. And by the way, guys, if you're watching this show, almost all of my basketball feedback will be going through the At Me Bro Twitter. So please follow us over there. I'm trying to keep my timeline primarily related to art and other video games and music. Because with the basketball stuff, I'd love to live tweet during games. And if I did that on my main account, all my comic book folk would literally get me blacklisted. They would lose their minds.
I got it. I totally understand.
But what I tweeted in the first quarter, man, he's losing their mind. Losing their mind. Losing his mind. Trae Young looking fantastic.
The only problem is, we're going to have a part of this show where I'm not going to be objective at all when we start talking about the Bulls, and Nelson has agreed to not be objective at all when he starts to talk about the Knicks. But I'm going to be objective right now talking about Derrick Rose. Here's my only issue. He's got 27 tonight, right? But he's a -9.
It has a -11 on NBA.com.
Okay, it must have changed one way or the other because I'm looking at -9 on ESPN, and so that worries me because that's telling me something about how he's defending. But then here's the thing: Trae Young's on fire right now, and so that could be,
It's also Blake is out, so once one of your starters is out and you're coming off the bench, rotations could be so bad it could be not your fault. Like if you play with a big man who gives up 6 dunks in a row, and you get a -6, that's not on you.
That's not on you.
No, so that's why I don't like.
Plus minus can be defensive. It can be. Now here's the thing though. Plus minus can be deceiving, especially if your team keeps a consistent rotation, because it may not be your fault. Like you're saying, it may not be your fault.
Eye test from the perimeter, him and Luke Kennard were keeping them in the game after Trae Young had almost shot them out of the game in the first half.
Yeah.
So even if I didn't see the second half of the game because I was watching the rest of the games, but even if he did something to hurt the team later on, that first half, considering they weren't playing with Blake Griffin, for him to keep them in it was a huge positive. The main thing with him starting, obviously, is just health. It might not change his minutes, but he just needs to be healthy enough to start. If they rely on him, they can't have him go down. But, he looks great, man. I hope he continues to move forward. But so we already kind of launched into it, man. What else are you looking at from the opening night and all that other stuff? What do you see so far?
Well, I see that the Lakers are not going to just be able to roll the ball out there and go, we got LeBron and Anthony Davis. Let's go. I mean, the Clippers look fantastic. And the reason why, but we really got to wait to see what happens when Paul George joins the fray. But what I love is, and you talked about this a little bit last year in the postseason, Kawhi Leonard has to be the most integratable superstar in the history of basketball. Who is this dude? Like, you literally can put him on any team with any level, with any players, with any skill set, and he just falls in and does whatever is absolutely supposed to be done for that particular group. It was like I was watching them, and the Lakers got off to a great start, and it looked like they were going to be in control, right? And they the Clippers turned up the defense, and Kawhi had a section of the third quarter, I believe it was, where he decided, okay, you know the part where you guys pay me to be a big time scorer? That's this part. That's this part right here.
Mm-hmm.
After that, I'll go. Well, I'll go back and I'll start defending and I'll rebound and all that. But this part right here is for the scoring part. And it was just like the dude is like, I don't know if I think Paul George can be similar, because neither one of those guys are like really big ego guys,
Mm-hmm.
and they're both very versatile. But I'm telling you, if that team stays healthy with the makeup that they have, man, it's going to be really hard to beat them in 7 games.
Oh, for sure. I mean, the
It's
defense is
going to be really
excellent.
hard to beat
They
them.
got a top flight guy in Kawhi. My main concern with them would be, can Zubac perform very well in the postseason? Because outside of Zubac, they get real small real quick. And also their point guard production. Now they have Lou Williams, producing from the guard spot. He's not a point guard, but he's producing from the guard spot. But that, compared to everybody else, that's a lot of points not happening from the guard spot. So in the playoffs, they have to be very, like, Paul George and Kawhi Leonard have to sit at some point. And, from a scoring standpoint, they have to be just as good as they were last year, scoring wise.
I really don't have that concern for them at all, because one, for a couple of reasons. Paul George and Kawhi will sit. They don't have to sit for extended stretches at a time with both of them on the floor. But when they're both on the floor, or one of them is on the floor, I think that both of them are good enough distributors and creators, where even if they're on the floor with Pat Bev, that Lou Williams, I mean, that they'll have people to create scoring, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think that Lou is the type of scorer who he can create for 10, 12 stretches, 10, 12 trips down the floor in a row.
Oh, yeah, he's a bucket.
Yeah, long enough to allow, Kawhi and Paul George to get their rest. I hear your concerns about Zubac, but honestly, Montrezl Harrell plays so much bigger than he is because of his arm length, his lower body strength, and quiet as kept, he didn't flex like that because he ain't been working on his upper body. His upper body is more chiseled too.
Yeah.
He's just in better shape. Him and Pat Bev are in better shape physically. Man, the mental makeup of that team is freaking scary.
Oh, yeah, from coaches, GMs, all the way down. I mean, they got Jerry. Like, we said this a while ago before any of this happened. Never underestimate Jerry West, right?
Yeah.
And Jerry West has created one of the great teams there. And when I say I have these concerns, it's really specifically, the only concern I have for them in the regular season is health, because Kawhi and Paul George both haven't been 100% for most of last year. Mm-hmm. And Kawhi ended the playoffs in a pretty serious limp, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But if they get through healthy, my only concern with them in the postseason, when I say these things, is just about who they're facing. The fact that they'll have to face, if they could possibly face Philly in the finals, they're huge. They're going to face LA in the playoffs, probably. They're huge. Houston is not. I mean, they've got Tyson Chandler looking really good tonight. If he makes it through the season and is a decent backup for them, then you've got Capella and Tyson Chandler, which makes Houston very capable at the center spot. So it's really just in those matchups. And against all of those teams, well, not Philly, but in the Western Conference, you have teams that can, through their role players, go on these huge runs of three-point shooting like Danny Green did last night. And that's when I talk about the scoring. When it's like, you know what I mean? The being a little small with the scoring, if their guys aren't 100%, that's what could hurt them. But 100%, that team has as good of a chance as anybody to win the championship.
Yeah. I think Houston does present for them a very interesting challenge, because Houston kind of breaks all your rules about being a really good defensive team.
Yeah.
Because they have two guys who can essentially play bad basketball and be productive. You know what I mean? It's like it's very similar to the way Oklahoma City used to be. Oklahoma City used to run all of this isolation, and everybody would talk about how bad a basketball that was and how that, but they would get to the cusp. They either get to the finals or they should have beat Golden State because they were up 3-1 and they should have been able to win one game. And they did it playing that way. Houston's offense is better than that, but they still have a similar kind of makeup with these two dominant or potentially dominant one-on-one players, and then with Russ being able to take most guards in the post, dude. James Harden had 10 points today at the half, I believe. He missed every single shot from the field, and he was 10 for 10 from the free throw line.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's just his ability, his conversion rate, just for every possession.
Defense, he had a really bad call on a 3-pointer called against him.
No, I wasn't even saying like this wasn't an attack. It was.
No, I know what you're saying. Like,
yeah, it
like,
was
because they're up 16 on Milwaukee, and James isn't like.
And he's not, but his conversion rate, though, I'm saying, like, who else in the world can be 0 for 4 from the field and still have 10 points?
Yeah, that's crazy. And we discussed this before. And what I said about Houston was the reason I believed in this pairing is for 2 major reasons. 3, actually. Number 1, availability. Russell Westbrook plays a lot more games than Chris Paul. So if that trend continues, even if you had them as equal, which I never have, it's a play. You have to, even if you like them the same. And nobody really ever thought, I shouldn't say ever, but few people had Chris Paul as a flat out, hands down better player than Russ. Most people thought it was close. If you believe it's close, right, Russell's going to be there more, automatically makes him better. That's point 1. Point 2, Russell objectively adds to their fast break, which was arguably their weakest element last year, that they had no transition points. And then point number 3, when Russell Westbrook has the ball, they have to guard James Harden off ball so close that it's essentially 4-on-4. And that's what's very different from OKC. OKC, it was more like 3-on-5 to the negative on Westbrook's team because Adams couldn't shoot. When Robertson was playing, he couldn't shoot. Nerlens Noel couldn't shoot.
Yeah, not enough. It's not enough.
You know what I'm saying? Like, so many people couldn't shoot. Whereas in Houston, except for Clint Capella, everybody on the floor is a threat to shoot the 3 ball. Some of them, like Eric Gordon, at high volume.
Yeah,
right?
and the fact that Clint is not a 3-point shooter doesn't hurt them because he gives them the big rim runner. With both of those guys able to pass to the rim, to the face of the rim, and him still being able to go up and finish. When you have to defend the back, when somebody has to help to defend from backside to defend the lob, which is the best. If you notice the way that they defend Capella and the lob, it's with backside help. Mm-hmm. Well, when you got all of these shooters and 2 dominant one-on-one guys, that becomes really difficult. 100%. You know, that's a lot of space to cover coming from backside on either baseline, trying to run behind Capella's man to shut down this lob. And you're caught in between of where to cover. And meanwhile, James Harden's at the free throw line. Not shooting yet, but you know,
I couldn't agree more.
It's just an interesting basketball season, man.
Really, really interesting. One thing, the thing about what you said right there that I totally agree with you is with James Capella going that backside lob, that weak side lob, and the way you have to defend. That's one thing 2K gets really wrong. And when we look at 2K, these are the things they need to start correcting because I think it really hurts the game because there's certain things you can do in real life that in the game is a bad idea. And this is one of them, right? Like in the game, you want to play 5 out because if you play 4 out, 1 in, or you have somebody in the dunker spot, the big who defends the ball is equally capable on the same play of turning around and defending the lob. Whereas in real life, you give Clint Capella a step on you and you're dead. You're on Sports Center getting dunked on in the back of your head. That's something I'd love to see 2K address, particularly with the AI. It's somewhat true in multiplayer. It's not quite as bad because the human doesn't have access to the same controls. But yeah, with Houston, there's a lot of scary stuff about them, including the fact that they get to run a James Harden unit while Westbrook is resting and a Westbrook unit while Harden is resting.
And they both get shooters.
Yeah, which is part of the reason they're giving Milwaukee the business right now. Touching them.
Yeah, because Milwaukee can't stop them. They can't stop them. Like if you look at, and the fact that they can't stop him and James is not making shots. Scary. Yeah, you know, that's the tough part about it. And Mike D'Antoni's just sitting there like this. So, because I mean, here's the thing, man. What I think Mike D'Antoni gets a lot of, you know, criticism, and I think he deserves some of it. But you can't argue with the fact that the offense that this guy scores points. That's the whole point of an offensive scheme and offensive strategy. The problem is that he's not a well-rounded coach, right? He doesn't his teams are generally not good defensively. His teams are generally not tough. They're generally not mentally tough squads. And that at some point, those two things have to start being a reflection of the coach. But Bro Matt just had a really good point. He said he thinks he's the best offensive coordinator in the league. And I know that's not a term that we generally use with basketball, but that's kind of what he is. And because there is no such thing as necessarily an offensive coordinator, he's a head coach. I mean, the Bulls kind of functioned that way back in the 90s. Tex Winter and Johnny Bach. Johnny Bach kind of handled the defense. Tex Winter is like the creator of the triangle, and he kind of did his thing there. And Phil Jackson was really kind of more like the orchestrator of personalities and a people manager, which was very much needed. But it's like we don't see coaching staffs with those defined of a roles anymore. It doesn't appear to me. It seems like there's a lot fewer specialists on coaching staffs this year than there used to be. I mean, you got a shooting coach, but in terms of, to me, you don't see it as much. It seems like it stopped in the early 2000s because I know the Celtics function that way because Thibodeau did the defense. He did Doc Rivers' defense. That was his thing. But I don't know that I've seen that with a lot of other teams. Golden State, Infinite Wisdom is saying Golden State, I think, has something similar to that. And if you think about some of these teams we're talking about with that have that approach, these are some of the more successful squads.
Yes.
So it's probably something to that,
Well, I think the criticism about his defensive teams has been a holdover from the early success of the Suns. Because when the Suns had Sean Marion really going and they had Raja Bell going, they weren't a bad defensive team. They were an above average defensive team. I believe they were ranked something like 13th. And for the pace of their offense, that made them basically a top defensive team because your chance of stopping them was probably worse than their chance of stopping you, which I know offense plays into it, but that's part of it. And these Rockets teams have been good defenders. And it shows that D'Antoni, while he knows he's not a good defensive coach, right? He hires his GM gets the players who play good defense, and he allows his defensive coaches like Bizdelic to coach defense. So I think the criticism about defense has been a little misplaced. The other criticism he gets, I think, is totally fair, is that his attention to detail isn't there, and the playoffs is a very detail-oriented game, very detail-oriented, right? Changing one little thing about your rotations or assignments can really swing a matchup. And D'Antoni has not shown the ability to do that. And I agree with your other criticism with him in terms of his leadership.
Yeah.
Doc Rivers, I think the best thing about Doc Rivers is that his players listen to him and they believe in him. So when I always go back to this one moment that he had with the Celtics, Kobe was killing him. And Paul Pierce was on the bench hanging his head. And he came over to Paul Pierce. The mics picked it up. He patted him on the leg and said, "It's just 2 points. Don't worry about it. You're fine." You know what I mean? It's just 2 points. Just keep playing. Because you could see that Paul Pierce started to break. And that's Kobe's goal, as he said it himself. He's trying to break you down. And Doc Rivers is, as a coach, countering the strategy of the star player on the other side. I've never, ever seen Mike D'Antoni have a moment close to that. I've seen Steve Kerr have it.
Yeah.
I've seen Phil Jackson have it. I've never seen Mike D'Antoni have that moment.
I've seen Phil Jackson have it with the greatest player that ever lived. So
and Pau Gasol and Kobe Bryant, I've seen him, on the court talking to those guys with Shaq. So the stories you hear about, him calling Kobe into the office like, "Hey, we're starting to lose the big guy. Get in here.
Yeah,
we need you to tone it down to get his numbers back up." And Shaq has talked about this. We had agreements about our numbers, right? Yeah. And Shaq started to get a little jealous, which you've seen him do against Penny. And so, Mike D'Antoni needs to do that in the playoffs when it gets really tight. Because he's a very good coach outside of that. Even if you don't like, he's such a good coach, man. They have too much success. Yes. I think people are too quick to dismiss his success and hold the one thing. And this happens a lot, where they say you didn't get a ring, so it invalidates your entire resume. I don't believe in that.
No, that's kind of silly. That's kind of silly. I mean, that's oversimplifying it to the umpteenth degree. I mean, that's pretty ridiculous. I mean, you play more regular season games than you play. And I don't get me wrong. I do think that postseason success should be a larger measuring stick. But you're not gonna tell me you got a coach who wins 60 games every year, been to the finals once or twice, couldn't get over the hump, and went to the Eastern Conference or the conference final 6-7 years in a row. And you're gonna tell me, oh, he didn't win a championship, so he sucks. Oh,
especially when in all of his losses, you could argue he never had the best player on his team.
Yeah. That I think that's kind of silly, But it just is what it is. Let's talk a little bit about what we saw with Kyrie. And with the 50, he put the 50 up. And I told Junior something today about Kyrie. In my opinion, this is what Kyrie. I got a new designation for Kyrie. Oohs and L's.
Oh my goodness. We're gonna fight over this one.
Oohs and L's.
And you know what I hate about this?
Oohs and L's, man.
I'm not a Kyrie Irving guy, but you put me in these positions to defend this man.
Yeah.
On the last play before, like to seal the game.
Yes.
Not the very last play, but in regulation, he drove to the cup, gave Jared Allen an excellent look at the basket. Yeah. Not only did Allen miss the shot, he got fouled, which Kyrie Irving created, and he missed both free throws. This is that superstar bias that I talk about, that the W's and L's get entirely placed on the superstar. Kyrie Irving had 0 turnovers and 50 points from the guard position. That wasn't on him.
Yeah.
And at some point, his team, it's 10, 11 people going to play in that game.
Yeah. Yeah. So here's my thing with him. I mean, and he's not unlike many superstars like him in the past. And some guys coming in the future. Kyrie is, in my opinion, the maybe the most clear example of what I call a trap player. Kyrie Irving is a spectacular scorer. I think he is the greatest scorer the NBA has seen of anybody 6'2" and under. I don't think I've ever seen anybody who is a greater scorer, even more than Iverson. And the reason why I say that is because he's so much better of a shooter. And as far as finishing close to the basket, he's just as good, if not better. He just does it differently, but he's just as good, if not better. But all of that said, there are some things that he doesn't bring to a team that I think winds up equaling more. It winds up equaling not winning on a major level if he is your guy. Now, if he's your secondary guy and you have another guy who does all of those things that he doesn't do, all of the winning things, and you allow Kyrie to focus on what it is that he does best, which is simply put it in the hole, then that's when he is the Kyrie that everybody overblew in his last few years in Cleveland. That's when he's that guy. But when he is leading the ship, you get oohs because you just going, oh my God, off of what he just did. But you get L's because he's not a winning basketball player on a major level. He's not a winning guy.
So people look at what Boston did the previous year, and then they look at what they did with, Kyrie, and they say, you're the reason, right? And everybody who's been around that situation said there was a lot going on and blah, blah, blah. So I take the Boston thing, throw it to the side, because they also went on an 18-game winning streak when he was there, right? Mm-hmm. So we're really just talking about the playoffs. So honestly, yesterday's game, first game of the season, shouldn't matter for this argument. If we're just talking about the playoffs, we should really be able to say, wait and see. But even taking yesterday's game into account as a piece of evidence, he was plus 18 on the floor, and the people who came off the bench were minus 14, minus 12, minus 16. So if you're looking at the game fairly, you'd say the Nets' lack of depth in this situation really hurt them, or their bench has to play a lot better. it's to take a guy who was 7-14 from 3, 7 rebounds, 8 assists, or 8 rebounds, 7 assists, and be like, you're the reason that you lost. If you were just better. When Andrew Wiggins, a guy he's not guarding, is a guy who made a clutch play. Karl Anthony Towns, another guy he's not guarding, is a guy who made a clutch play. If his teammates had done their job better, and not offensively, we're just talking about defensively for the most part. Jared Allen missed 2 free throws, inexcusable. But just if they had just simply locked it down a little bit, that's a game that the narrative is completely different, and you would throw this game out to bring that other argument in. I think Kyrie Irving needs to become a better defensive player. But as a playmaker, he has gotten a lot better than he was in Cleveland. Some of the passes that he delivered, including the one that Jared Allen didn't make anything out of, were fantastic. So I think maybe this criticism might have been fair for a younger Kyrie Irving. I think this older, more mature Kyrie Irving as a player, not as a person, when I'm talking about any leadership stuff.
Right.
His lack of success has really been the teams that he's on, and sometimes it's just the teams that you're on. I think if he plays this same way and he has 2 other players who are as talented as he is, or half as talented, but they're on the bench instead of the guys who are, a tenth of as talented, then you're in a different situation. The Nets just aren't that great of a team right now with what they have, with the way their bench is playing or has played in a single game so far.
Well, to me, this is why he is the epitome of a trap player, because none of what you said is untrue, right? But what I think his impact is, and the negative impact that he has on his team, is that it's not that he's not playing well, it's how he's playing well. Kyrie does not play in an inclusive way. Even when he scored, some guys raise the level of guys who would be nothing without them, or would be far less without them. Some guys are that way. And I obviously I'm not trying to compare him to Mike or LeBron, because clearly we know that's an entirely different tier of guy. But those are the kinds of guys who there are people who they have gotten contracts for, who, were it not for their presence and were it not for the way that this player learned to play off of them, these guys would never have had the overall success or made the money that they made in the league. Judd Bushler got contracts he wouldn't have gotten because of Mike. Luke Longley got contracts he wouldn't have gotten because of Mike.
I try to stay away from comparing modern NBA players to Michael Jordan and Chicago.
Or even if you look at LeBron, there are guys. I think Tristan Thompson doesn't get the deal he gets without LeBron. There's other guys like that, and what I'm saying is, this is what Kyrie is. Kyrie is a guy who comes out and gets buckets, and he gets them in spectacular fashion. But the way he scores forces or has guys standing around watching him. And it's hard to come at Kyrie, because Kyrie's being him. And being him, this is how he plays. This is how he scores. But I contend that the way he plays, it doesn't encourage, but it leads to bigs who are not ready for the ball. It leads to bigs who are not engaged on both ends of the floor. It leads to wing players who are not engaged, to wing players who are not going to perform to their capabilities, because Kyrie has the ball. He's doing his thing. And like I said, it's really difficult to say who at the end of a game would you rather have with the ball in the league right now?
Very few people.
Like if you said I need
short
a
list. Yeah,
like
Kawhi, James Harden, Kyrie Irving.
Yes,
and if Durant's healthy, Kevin Durant. But it's really, it's hard to not put Kyrie on a very, very short list. And I agree with you, but I would say it's a cop-out to say if he's the second guy, because as a second guy, you have to perform at an elite level. And in his role as a second guy, he was a scorer, right? Exactly,
but that's all he should be.
But no, because it's not all he should be.
That is all he should be.
7 assists. That's better than most.
It's the way he does it, though. It's the way he does it, and if you just look at that blanket naked number, then you can go, oh, he did his job.
Well, I'm looking at the game. Like,
but I'm saying, but look at like the situations that you just said. Jared Allen wasn't falling on his face like that in those situations last year.
Oh yes, sometimes he was.
Nah, not like that.
Yes, he was. Sometimes. Jared Allen.
Last night, Jared Allen looked like he looked lost at points.
It's the first game of the season.
But this wasn't his first game of his career.
No, but a lot of guys play weird the first game of the season. I mean, and honestly, he just had to hit a free. Like, are we blaming Kyrie Irving for Jared Allen not hitting 2 free throws?
Is that what we're doing? It's not even a blame. It's not a blame. It's, to me, it's a style mismatch. And to me, Kyrie is not the guy who should be your. This all should be remedied as long as Kevin Durant comes back and Kevin Durant is healthy and able to do it. It's not a one-game overreaction, M7, because I've said this same thing about Kyrie for years. Kyrie was at his best alongside LeBron, because LeBron does all of those things. And the few areas that LeBron is maybe not at an absolute elite level, those are the things that Kyrie is elite at. Those are the things that nobody in the league can say they're definitively better than Kyrie. To me, that's why they were such a great tandem, because they hid each other's weaknesses. Kyrie has a leadership weakness.
I think it's unreasonable to ask a player to be better than plus 18 on the court and then
we just talked about how that is only tells so much of the story.
And when your bench guys are minus 12, minus 14, that tells a lot of the story. When that happens to you in my career, you feel like throwing a controller. You go up 18 and you come back and you only up 5, and somebody got a flaming foot, and you like, what is Mike Wang doing to me, right? I'm not saying Kyrie's a perfect player, but there's a certain limit to where you should ask more of somebody. And you could say the same thing about Damian Lillard and Kemba Walker. And then so you start to list every all-star point guard not named Steph Curry and say, basically, unless you're Steph Curry, you're not a winner. And I just don't. And meanwhile, Chris Paul, who literally has frozen, disappeared, and choked repeatedly in playoff games, rarely gets this criticism because he's a floor general and people like that better. Kyrie Irving, who basically handed LeBron James a Game 7 ring with that ridiculous all-time great game winner, is not a winner. I think that's incredibly unfair when you look at the surrounding circumstances.
I just don't think he's a winner as a league guy. That's my thing. He's not a winner as a league guy.
I don't think Kyrie is a good enough player to earn that criticism. And what I mean by that is LeBron.
Well, he's playing one, though.
Let me finish the point. Well, I don't think he's playing one. I think Kevin Durant is hurt, and he's the best they have right now. But this whole as a lead guy thing is, for me, when a guy soaks up all your salary cap, he's the one guy that you're counting on, he's trying to draw players to him and stuff like that. I think Kyrie is a notch below that because he's small. He's not really a defender. He's not the greatest athlete in the world. He's a guy who gets by totally on skill. The one exception to that rule is Steph Curry, who's literally the absolute greatest shooter of all time, right? Be a slightly worse shooter than Steph Curry, and you wind up like Kyrie or Dame Lillard, where you need somebody else who's likely bigger and maybe also a defender to carry you over the hump. Just because he needs great players to win with, the same as basically everybody else, doesn't mean it's his deficiency. It's just every great player needs a certain kind of team to succeed on.
Yeah, I think that when he went to Boston, the way that went down and the way that trade happened, he went there as a number one guy. That was the way that whole acquisition, that whole deal was constructed. Now, yes, of course, Kevin Durant went to Brooklyn as well. But if you look at what Kyrie makes and Kyrie's level of popularity, it's really difficult not to say.
I mean, they just gave Jaylen Brown $100 million. So I ain't looking at guy's paycheck as indication.
Well, Jaylen, but $100 million doesn't mean what it used to mean in terms of.
Okay, I'm glad you said that because I can counter you with Bradley Beal is about to make more money than everybody.
Well, yeah, he is. But that's just a timing thing. You know what I'm saying? Like, he's the first upper echelon guy. And when I say upper echelon, I'm talking about top 35, 40 guy. He's a top 35, 40 guy whose contract is up at this point when the salaries are about to boom again. That's what that is. I don't think anybody is saying that because he's going to get this money that makes him the best player or a top 5 guy. It's a timing thing.
Which is my point. If you are a good player in this league, you make a lot of money. When you look at, you can't look at somebody's paycheck and say they're this kind of player. I'm glad you said that because that is exactly my point. What Brooklyn paid Kyrie Irving, that's his market value. When you average 25 points and 7 assists and shoot 50% from here and 37% from there or 38%, whatever he shoots, yeah, that's what you get. 90% from the free throw line, that's what you get.
That's why he's a trap player.
How's he a trap player if it's proven that he won a championship?
Because he does that. He won a championship in the role that I'm saying he's best for.
But that role is still worth what he made.
Like, no, I wasn't implying.
It's a trap if you're not.
I wasn't implying he's not worth the money. Now I'm not saying that because when Durant comes back and when Durant comes back and he's Durant, absolutely, because now you got it the way it needs to be. Now you have it the way it needs to be. I'm just saying that Kyrie, as a lead guy, is oohs and ahs. He's going to give you a bunch of, oh my God, did you see that move? Oh God. But at the end of the day, at the end of the game, you got teammates standing around, guys playing beneath their potential, beneath what they played before Kyrie got there.
But that wasn't the case with Boston in year 1.
It was the case with Boston. Jason Tatum regressed.
No, year 1. Kyrie was there year 1 with Jason Tatum. And they were one of the best teams in the league. And then Kyrie got hurt, and they performed very well in the playoffs. But while Kyrie was there,
with Jason Tatum on the floor carrying a bigger role because Kyrie wasn't.
He was awesome with Kyrie. In fact, everybody was mind blown at how ridiculously efficient he was when he was playing with Kyrie in the first season.
No, when Kyrie was on the floor more in the second season, which is when we expected Jason Tatum to take a step, to take the next step. He did not take that step.
Yes, but Kyrie was on the floor in both seasons. What changed, right? So Kyrie and Jason Tatum, fantastic in the first season. Kyrie and Jason Tatum, underwhelming in the second season. So what changed?
I think the scale.
Gordon Hayward is what changed.
I think the scale was different because rookie season, what were the expectations for Jason Tatum? Not what they were for the second season, because in the first season, we saw him come out, play, and we're like, man, this guy looks like he has superstar potential. And a lot of people expected to see him take that next step. And with Kyrie on the floor, that didn't happen.
No, he took the first step with Kyrie on the floor. Like, it would be different if Jason Tatum played without Kyrie Irving and was this awesome rookie who should take another step, and then Kyrie Irving comes in and ruins it. He played with Kyrie Irving in his rookie year.
But what I'm saying is it's the expectation.
That's Kyrie's fault?
No, it's not even about fault. It's about mismatch.
It was Gordon Hayward.
It's not ready
to play. He got an unearned starting position, and Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown didn't like it, and the locker room basically never got together. And the coach is not a personality guy. He's an X's and O's guy, and he couldn't figure out the personality issue. Kyrie Irving deserves, like everybody on that team, he deserves a percentage of it. But to say he was the reason and his style of play was the reason completely ignores all information from his first year with Boston.
I think it's a mismatch. I think it's a mismatch of skills. I think both guys are talented guys who are not going to play well together, because Jason Tatum is not a do-it-all guy. He's not a do-it-all guy. He's a scorer, primarily a scorer. And another guy who is primarily a scorer who does not have enough of and especially is not as deadly of a scorer as Kyrie, and who can't command to have the ball at certain points of time, they end up. It's a certain like a level of aggression, a level of assertiveness that tends to drop when guys play with Kyrie. I'm looking at what happened in Boston. I mean, it's funny because a lot of the players for the Celtics last year seem to indirectly have had an issue playing with Kyrie. Like they were like, yeah, I mean, like nobody wants to come out and say it, but it feels like that. So it's like all of those guys have this issue.
I don't think that's true. Like what you're saying, I don't see any evidence.
It appears to me. It appears
Terry Rozier, who was his chief rival,
yeah,
and basically said the hard thing for me was that I wasn't in the role I was in last year. When they said, was that Kyrie? He said, no. What he didn't want to say was that Gordon Hayward is in the game and I'm still just an off-ball guy. I should be running the offense like I was doing last year once Kyrie sits. He fully expected Kyrie to start ahead of him and be Kyrie.
But see, that's not really what I'm talking about. Those guys are not on the floor together. Rozier and Kyrie are not on the floor together in for long stretches of the time. They play the same position. I'm talking about people who are on the floor with Kyrie, and it's not like you're saying it as if I'm saying like he's to blame and he's hurt. He's like this albatross kind of guy. Like Carmelo Anthony, teammates love him far more than Kyrie's teammates have loved him historically. Right.
Yeah.
But Melo had a certain kind of game that I don't think was ever really conducive for winning on a major level, because a lot of people tend to stand around and watch him.
But see, and I don't think that's the problem with Melo, because Melo is primarily a post player, and that's the nature of post play. Even though I agree with your overall point, I think with Melo, and Paul Pierce found this out, as a small forward, you cannot get away with not rebounding or playing defense well. You have to do one of the two at a high level. And in fact, LeBron's finding this out right now. I think the reason LeBron has been struggling these past several years is when he hasn't been playing defense, his teams don't play well at all, particularly on defense. It's hard to get four other guys to play defense well when the lead guy is not playing defense well. You know, you have to get a lot of role play, especially at the front court when you need toughness. You need to close those defensive plays with rebounding. And when Carmelo Anthony was a great rebounder, well, not great, but a very good rebounder, his teams did better. As his rebounding comes down and his defense comes down, his teams do worse. And as he didn't have the defensive personnel around him and a defensive point guard to get everything organized, that stuff gets worse. So I don't entirely disagree with you with Carmelo, who hasn't had as much career success as Kyrie Irving has had. But I don't think it was the fact that he was a watch me dribble kind of guy. It's not the same as, it's not like necessarily watch me dribble, it's watch me work. And here's the thing. I would agree with you if Kyrie Irving took 30 shots a game. I would agree with you if Kyrie Irving was really inefficient. You know, and in fact, I was inclined more towards agreeing when Kyrie was at like 4 or 5 assists a game. But at 7 assists a game, 20 shots, every other scoring point guard is allowed to do that. But because Kyrie has occasionally, I shouldn't say occasionally, he used to over dribble a lot. Now I think it's less than people.
He still over dribbles a bit, but it's all right because
but I think it's less than what
freaking amazing.
Yeah.
So he's the kind of, it's, you know what, it's obviously I think he's a better player, but the roles that Lou Williams plays, the roles that Jamal Crawford play, if they were on the floor for long periods of time, those guys would not be the best lead guards, the best small guard type players.
But he's 10 times the passer both of those guys are put together.
He's 10 times the who?
The passer. Both of those guys are put together.
I don't know about 10 times. I'd say he's a better passer. I don't know about 10 times the passer. But those guys are get bucket guys, get bucket lead guards, get bucket dribble guys. But they play in a role. And I'm not trying to say that Kyrie needs to be a 6-man. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is he needs to have a defined role where his primary thing is scoring, and he's not the guy who is in charge of distributing. I feel like he's at his best when that's not even a task that he's asked to carry. Let another do it all, 2 or 3, create the offense, and he goes and for stretches and goes wild and gets buckets. I think the overall offense will function better. I think teammates will be happier, and I think you will see players play harder and more consistently on defense. It's just when I've said this to you before. I said this when we were on the Sim Hangout. when a big guy knows he's going to touch the ball on a regular basis, he's more engaged in the game. And I could be watching a guard score 10 straight times down the floor. I'm literally watching him just get buckets. Boom, boom, boom. He's getting them. And he's getting them in fantastic fashion. I'm talking about he's doing all kinds of stuff. But after a while, my mind goes to a place where I expect for him to shoot. Some portion of my aggression and my assertiveness has dipped a bit. And when I get the ball, I may not actually be as prepared to do what I normally would do if I know I'm getting it all the time in a flow. And it really doesn't have anything to do with Kyrie not being efficient. Doesn't have anything. And I don't even think Kyrie's playing wrong. I just think that he's because he's a small guard, he automatically gets placed in this position where he's supposed to be running some hybrid form of scoring and distributing. And I think that when he's doing both of those things, that's when his teams are not really at a point where I think they can win on a high level. But if he ever proves me wrong, great. But
I don't know how he would possibly prove you wrong, because if Kyrie Irving is the best player on your team, I also agree that your team most likely can't win the championship. But I don't think it's his fault. I think it's the truth of any secondary. I think the truth is also true of Klay Thompson, who's an ultimate winner. If Klay Thompson is the best player on your team, you're probably not winning a championship because his talent isn't, MVP A tier, level. Or the only way to get that happening is if you have a lot of players also near his level, then you could get away with it. But outside of those situations, I wouldn't expect a Kyrie Irving-led team to win, because usually you need a player of a Durant or LeBron or Giannis.
That's really all I'm saying. I think we actually more agree than we disagree. I think that it just sounded a certain way because I said he's oohs and L's, I don't think
he's the reason the L's are there. If they have better players, they don't want.
I don't think he's the reason. I just think that's the result. That's the result if he's your number one guy. A lot of oohs, but you're gonna get L's, and you're gonna get L's against the best teams. It's not his fault necessarily, but that's the result if Kyrie is your number one guy. It's oohs and L's. And so I don't feel like I'm disrespecting him. I don't feel like I'm selling him short. I feel like I'm looking at what his talent level is, how his whole game is structured, how other people play around him. And that's just what it is. I mean, and I think the thing of it was, here's what got this going. What got this going was that he was in his perfect role, and he became dissatisfied with his perfect role, and he wanted more. And he got out of Cleveland because he wanted more. And now he's being exposed as a guy who's not really capable of what he said he wanted and what he was trying to have. And that's where people perceiving him as a number one guy came from, because you were a number two guy in a great situation.
I always disagreed with him being on the same level as.
But he did that, though. He did that.
A lot of players are confident and believe they're the best and blah, blah, blah. And I'm totally fine with that. But I don't think his game is the problem. And he already won a championship with his game. Yes, of course, he was obviously playing with LeBron James, but LeBron James doesn't have that many championships. He's got a couple with Dwayne Wade and one with Kyrie Irving. That's all he's got. So it's not like he's some championship generator that Kyrie just participated in. Kyrie deserves an equally sized ring as LeBron James for the talent of team that they went against and how he played against that team. He was a monster, right? I think, and that's what I hate about this Batman and Robin thing that has ruined so many NBA discussions for so long. It was true for Michael and Scottie because Michael was so far and away the best player in the league, and Scottie wasn't the second best player, right? For in most people's eyes at the time, Olajuwon and Barkley.
I'm not saying he was the second best player in the league, but I always tell people this: Mike never won a playoff series without Scottie. Not even a playoff series. You can't find anybody, any teammate that LeBron has ever had, and you could tie that much success to him being with that person. So I'm not saying Scotty is the reason for Mike's success, because Mike is so freaking great. It was so freaking great that I believe he ultimately, his talent and his will and his competitiveness would have gotten him to a mountaintop at any point. But maybe he doesn't win 6. He doesn't win 6.
Again, this is what you're saying. Like, this depends on the situation. If Michael Jordan gets fed up and asks for a trade to the Knicks, he might get 7 or 8 playing with Patrick Ewing, right? So, so it's like the Bulls were really, really bad when he wasn't winning playoff games, and the Eastern Conference was extraordinarily fantastic. Getting through Detroit, and those are 2 dynasties. Detroit's not considered a dynasty, but I think they were.
I think they were. If that's not a dynasty, that was the closest thing you're gonna be to it without
closest thing, right? We both agree on that. So to ask Michael Jordan, basically playing with me, you, and Be the Boss, right, to beat the Boston Celtics is an unrealistic ask. And I agree. You know me, I agree. I think Scottie Pippen's fantastic, but he's clearly nowhere near the talent level of Michael Jordan. He's not a top 10. He's not a top 20 player of all time in almost everybody's eyes. You put Scottie Pippen top 20 all time?
He might be close to right there at the bottom, but 20, between 15 and 20.
We're not
at that part. We're not at that part of the show yet. Okay, the M71408 says that Pippen didn't win a series without MJ. That's actually not true. That's not true. When Mike retired, Pippen took the Bulls to the Eastern Conference Finals and was a bad Hugh Hollins call away from being in the NBA Finals, and that was without Mike. So that's not true. So if you're going to say something about the Bulls in this here, M7, you better make sure that you got it right, baby, because I'm going to get it. I ain't got this hat on because I just like it.
Listen, the Brooklyn Nets ain't going nowhere, so we're going to have a lot of time to revisit this Kyrie discussion. What else are you seeing from this early?
So let's talk about the Bulls and the Knicks.
Okay, so tell people what this segment is all about.
Okay, so generally, y'all think that this is not the case. Y'all, I know I'm gonna have a bunch of people. Where's 1989? He ain't said nothing in a minute. Did you fall asleep, Michael? You ain't said nothing in about 52 seconds. I don't know what's going on, but I know most of y'all are gonna say that this is not the case. But I always try to be objective. Now, I have certain things that I think, certain strong opinions, and y'all think that I'm not objective when it comes to Derrick Rose. I am very objective when I come to, and anybody that, because somebody came in the chat and asked us to talk about WWE 2K. I'm going to talk about that in 1 second because it's a big old hot mess right now. So we're going to talk about it. But I am objective when I talk about. I know who Derrick Rose is. I do. That's my favorite player. So I root for him. But you're not gonna get me up here talking about he's the best player in the league, or not. He wasn't even the best player in the league when he won the MVP. He just won it. He caught lightning in the bottle that year. He played great for the team that had the best record. So there you go. But he's my favorite player. So, but for this particular segment, I'm throwing all the objectivity out. And what we're going to do is we're going to talk as Bulls and Knicks fans.
Yes.
Without any kind of.
No objectivity.
I don't have to.
From there on out.
You know, I don't have to.
You can't hold us accountable. These are not accurate predictions or analysis. We are speaking as, red colored. And I should say rose colored, right? For you.
Oh, man. How about the Bucks came back and took the lead by 3? Yeah. No, 6. By 6.
Blue and orange colored glasses for this topic. And I invite you guys in the chat, if y'all have hometown opinions that's crazy, please post that in the chat as well.
Dude, are you looking at this?
Yeah, I am.
This is insane. They outscored the Rockets 23-8 in the fourth quarter. Now, James Harden bad shooting night is coming to get him now because he's 2 for 12 from the field.
There's only so much of that the Rockets could take.
Yeah, man. And Giannis is, dude, can you imagine? I did a video. What if Giannis could shoot threes? And we're going to talk about the Bulls and Knicks in a second. I said, what if Giannis could shoot threes? So he's 2 for 5 from 3 tonight. So that's 40%, obviously. He's got 30 points, 13 rebounds, 11 assists. If this dude get a moment's card in my team,
that's gonna be awesome.
With his 3-point shooting, dude, I got an amethyst Giannis Antetokounmpo, who is freaking Super Saiyan.
How'd you get that card?
I think I pulled him. Yeah, I pulled him. I did. I pulled him on the stream. I put him on the stream on this channel.
You put Giannis on the stream? I watched the stream. I don't
I
know.
thought I did.
I don't.
I remember pulling him, but I can't because I haven't sold any cards to this year. I'm not selling. I'm doing the completionist thing. I haven't sold anything. I got like I'm about to get the Evolution Isaiah Thomas card.
Mm-hmm.
So because it goes all the way up to a.
Where do you get that one?
When you become
challenge.
No. When you it's a card collection amount.
The collector. Yeah.
You get
collector rewards.
I think it's like 600 cards or something like that.
You know what I got from the daily rewards thing? I got the Evo Jerome Kersey.
Oh, okay.
That card is actually ridiculous.
Oh, he's about as good as a slasher gonna be.
It actually his 3-point shot is like an 84 when he's fully.
Oh, that's really lying.
And he gets an 86. Okay. He gets an 86 ball handle.
What?
Yeah.
Now you know that's demonic.
He got like a 400 dunk.
Oh yeah.
It's a crazy card. When I Evo it, I'll put it on streamers on.
Yeah, that's gonna be cool. Yeah, I should do that. I should put it on stream when I Evo go.
More my team on the stream, man.
More my team on the stream. I feel you. All right, so check it out. Kobe White's got an opportunity to take the Rookie of the Year from RJ Barrett and Zion Williamson.
Well, you wrong about that.
What? Have you been watching him?
Yeah, I watched him play against one of the worst defenses in the league.
What happened wait a minute.
I watched him play terrible defense.
They both play bad defense. So I feel like
RJ played good. Oh
no, I'm talking about the Bulls and the Bulls.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Y'all didn't hear what the segment was about. Y'all heard what the segment was about. Y'all talking about some I'm going to bed. Wow. I told you what it was about. Y'all gonna act like y'all wasn't here 5 minutes ago. What I just told you it was about.
Let them know what's in your heart, man. Let them know what's in your heart.
Sick and tired of y'all trying to tell y'all. Every time I look up, somebody got something bad to say about Kobe.
Are you happy with your draft pick
honestly, I am. I feel like I don't know who they could have gotten that would have been better at where they were. You know, at number 7, I don't see anybody that I've seen yet that would have been better, especially had a from when you consider positional situations, like I don't see anybody that could have gotten better. What I love about Kobe is Kobe's he's a very good athlete. He, at least from a speed standpoint, he's not a great leaper, but he's very quick. He's extremely aggressive, both on both ends of the floor, even though mentally on defense, he is still very much 19 years old.
Yeah,
because mentally on defense, sometimes I don't know what he lose time. I don't know what's going on sometimes, but he's a place in an attacking style, and I like that. And he is not bashful at all. Dude is gonna put it up, despite the fact that there were questions about his jump shot. He shot the ball very well in preseason, and he, last night I think what he had 17 last night, 17 points, something like 7 or 8 assists. Played really, really active. I thought that they were going to keep him in. I thought Boylan was going to keep him in to close the game out, but the Bulls actually needed Satoransky on the floor. I think he sat Satoransky too long because the offense really struggled to just get the ball to get into anything offensively, and Zach was off the whole night. He got in early foul trouble and never found a rhythm at all. Defensively, we were absolutely doo-doo baskets defending
you lost to the Hornets. So
I mean, no, I'll put it like this: they shot the ball like they will probably not shoot it again for the rest of the season. But on the same token, the perimeter defense was terrible. They defended one.
Terry Rozier was -18.
Oh, did you see how, man, PJ Washington last night, he really reminded me of Clifford Robinson. He played, he really did. And Devontae Graham looked like Damian Lillard last night.
Yeah.
This dude was pulling up from Raleigh. And I'm talking about bang, bang. And then Marvin Williams is a shooter. So I'm not going, he's definitely a shooter. He knocked down 5 threes.
So I got one question for you. It's
Don't
my
say
favorite
nothing.
part
Don't say
of it.
nothing
No,
disrespectful.
I a question. I can't.
I'm so sick and tired of stuff.
Back and forth show.
Very terrible.
My favorite part of your Bulls predictions is where y'all gonna wind up.
What you mean? At the end of the season?
Yeah. What's your record?
The Bulls at the end of this season will be 40-42. Wow.
That's awesome. I'm so glad you said that. This segment was totally worth it.
What are you talking about?
I'm just glad I got
40-42, man.
Y'all heard it. Y'all heard it here. They got beat by the Hornets. They're gonna be 40-42 though. They're gonna win 40 times.
They're gonna win 40 times. You better believe it.
Okay, so I'm getting attacked in the chat by M7 something. I don't know the rest of his name. So here's the thing. Number one, our probably second best or third best player, Mitchell Robinson, did not play yesterday. I don't count any games where Mitchell Robinson don't play. In terms of wins and losses, I really don't care because that's my guy. Number one. Number two, we played the Spurs, not the Hornets. All right, and we played them. Excuse me. I'm sorry. I'm just trying to answer the man's inquiry. You know what I'm saying? And most importantly, wins and losses aren't important to me this season because we almost definitely ain't going to make the playoffs. So
that definitely that ain't gonna happen.
What I care about is how the guys are developing. And the most important player on our team is Rowan Alexander Barrett Jr. And he was fantastic. And CB, you can't even go against me on this one because you've been with me the whole time. This is one of our joint predictions the whole time.
What's that?
Everybody was talking about how the Knicks was such a big L for not getting Zion Williamson. And my thing was always, as long as we got top three, I'm cool.
I'm laughing at Sam. I am. He must think I insulted the Spurs. I really didn't, but it's okay.
No, you say nothing about Spurs. I preferred Ja, but I wasn't mad at RJ even over Ja because they're young players. There's no telling which one of them is going to be better. This idea that Zion was way, way up here, Ja was over here, and RJ Barrett was way down here, possibly going to be a bust. Oh, my God, he only shoots 45%. I thought all of that stuff was a little ridiculous for a guy with his resume, which is a really, really fantastic resume. So it was nice to see that RJ Barrett not only played well, but the way that he played well. It wasn't just hot shooting. It wasn't, lucky shots going in. He didn't have like some terrible plus minus. He played like a vet. And this is what we've seen from him the whole time. It's been my favorite thing about him, besides his physical strength as a 19-year-old, which is, outside of Zion, is probably the most impressive one in the draft, right? Just raw physical strength.
Hachimura is pretty strong too, but yeah,
I gotta take a look at Rui. I haven't gotten to see him play against NBA, pro talent yet. But yeah, RJ, the way he's just moving veterans out of the way on the way to the basket and finishing strong and getting free throws, and the way he's better in crunch time and in tight games than he is in front running time. I'm extraordinarily happy with RJ Barrett. He still has the same weaknesses. The shot needs to be a little better. He needs to get better with his right hand. But outside of that, I'm super excited about him.
RJ Barrett's a dog. He's a dog. Yeah. He's the type of dude who he wants to be great so much that he cannot fail. Mm-hmm. He works too hard to completely fail because he's got too much talent. He's not the most talented guy, but he has too much talent to have the work ethic that he has to fall completely flat. It's like freaking impossible. He'd have to get hurt. Outside of that, it can't happen. So whenever you get a guy like that, you didn't blow your draft pick. It was the safest thing that they could have done. The safest thing to be honest, Ja Morant has more bust potential than he does. And Ja doesn't look anything like a bust, but he has more bust potential than RJ because he doesn't have the same size and all of those different things. RJ is a hard-working 6'7", 225, 230-pound dude who's got game off the dribble and has a knack for scoring, not necessarily shooting, but scoring. And that's not going to be a bust. And
his shot, as much as people talk about it, it's not starting from a bad place.
No.
He's got solid form. He just needs to clean up a few things with his consistency in his base, and he'll be fine. Sometimes he shoots well, sometimes he doesn't. But he ain't Ben Simmons. You know what I'm saying?
No, it's not. And he'll be fine. He'll be fine. He will be fine. So yeah, but I mean, I don't know. What's your prediction for the Knicks? What do you think the record's going to be?
Well, since we are in the unbiased section, I'm gonna say 37. I mean the biased section. I'm sorry.
What?
We're in the bias. We're in the biased section. So I'm gonna say 30. They gonna get to 30. I would say 36 wins. 36 wins.
37.
Yeah, 36. I would say 36.
36. We ain't say how old was you in your physical prime. We said how many wins.
36. That's right.
I can't think of 36 anythings that they're going to do this year that's positive.
Who you think will have a better? So you think the Bulls gonna have? They're gonna be
the Bulls will have 10 more wins than the Knicks this year.
Yeah, let's see how it goes. You might be right.
Yes, I am. I'm telling you. They got to be kidding me. Go to the pair.
Bro, Matt said he heard Charles Oakley played a few possessions in the Big Three. Maybe the Knicks could pick him up. I think we have enough power forwards, man. Thanks.
Yeah. Oh, they got 62 power forwards. They got 62.
Somebody's getting moved in the middle of the season.
Yeah, and I still can't understand why they signed Bobby Portis. I don't get it. I don't understand.
A 5, man. We need to pick up a 5.
Yeah, I don't get it. My man said 36.
36. Kerry Williams got the Bulls at 30.
Well, Kerry Williams doesn't understand what's going on here. So, I mean, we're not even going to worry about Kerry Williams. Who let Kerry Williams in here? Coming in here with that blasphemy.
Well, welcome to everyone. All right, so that's our biases. We got 40 wins for the Chicago Bulls on this side, 36 for the Knicks on that side. We got Kobe White Rookie of the Year on this side, and of course, I'm going with RJ Barrett. On my side, and really, it's obviously I think Zion would have taken it if he wasn't starting the season, missing a couple of months. But they do hold that against rookies. So, because you look at Trae Young, he had a bad early season. It's probably deserving of Roy if you looked at the second half, but they counted the first half. So, with Zion coming back, and he's probably going to be out of shape because he can't move until he starts being able to get basketball action. So he won't be in shape probably until December if he comes back on time. Maybe even farther than that. So
yeah, Tyler Hero on the real though. Tyler Hero does have a shot.
He's a bucket.
That kid can play.
He's a tremendous bucket. My only concern with Tyler is that in Miami they're very structured and they're not giving the ball to Tyler to score. Whereas in New York and Chicago, Kobe has a chance to,
fling it.
Yeah, to fling it.
He's encouraged to fling it when he comes.
RJ's been averaging 38 minutes a game. And that's another thing I love about him. He averages 38 minutes a game. He looked like he plays NBA the last 2 years, holding up to that minute load. Now, he's probably going to get tired at some point, but I like what I'm seeing.
You know what? I say a lot of stuff about Russell Westbrook, and I mean it all. But this dude he's insane. I have never seen a dude his size rebound like this. Like, just he got 16 freaking rebounds, man.
Mm-hmm. And one of them was off of a missed dunk alley-oop. He pulled it right back down in the trees. But no, he's a stat pattern, Brian. He's not good at rebounding. He's a stat pattern. I do have a concern. I have a serious concern.
He is a stat pattern, but he's still a great rebounder.
I have a serious concern with him. He got antennae. And I don't know how that's going to fare the rest of the year if he's going to keep them antennae in front of him. You seen his hair?
Yeah, man. I don't know what's going on with him, man.
I don't know why.
Bro, Matt just said something, man. Kendrick Nunn, man, he's from Chicago. He went to Simeon.
Oh, so he gonna get hurt? Let's say that to win right out his sails. You saw that? He just deflated him.
Don't you ever say nothing like that bad about us. So sick and tired of this. Every time I look up one of you, I don't understand what's going on here.
I think it's the cold to make y'all tendons tight.
Yo, man. Y'all was just hard people, man. And Crazy Girl ain't said nothing all day, and she gonna come in and laugh at that. Go get out of here, Crazy Girl. You come in with that.
You are more than welcome.
You come in with that. The first thing you say, you laughing at somebody saying something horrible about me.
Yo, speaking of horrible things, what about that WWE 2K20, B? What you got for us?
Yeah, all right. So
I'm seeing a lot of outrage online. I haven't played it myself.
Yeah, and you know what's so funny though, because a lot of the people rage and haven't even played the game that much or barely played it. I played the game a ton because I played a near final build, which was a lot better than the retail version. So I don't know if that was further along than what they actually released. I don't know, but that's somewhat of an encouraging sign because that was a lot better than what I brought home, you know, to review. All of that stuff that was going on, weird stuff with the creation suite where people's heads and faces is coming off, that wasn't happening in, you know, on the early one at all. There hasn't been a patch yet, bro, man. So that's not what has been that day one patch. But I'm gonna tell you, as somebody that played the retail version before the day one patch came out, the gameplay was still bad. And so just to break down what's wrong with the gameplay, it's the targeting is the biggest problem. You're trying to hit somebody who's right there and you're swinging and literally like they must have the most microscopic, the most sensitive hit boxes ever because literally you're just like throwing it straight over the top of the person's head. And so it never feels like you're lined up with whatever your target is.
I've seen a lot of that with people trying to get onto the ropes and get to the corner and use the turnbuckle. I watched obviously your streams and the content on our channel.
Yeah.
But I've also watched content on other people's channels and saw the exact same thing. If they fix the targeting, where do you think that would put?
If they fix the targeting and they clean up the problems in the creation suite, and some of the stuff isn't game breaking, but it's just really ugly. And because it's ugly, it adds into the whole narrative that's just going around. Because you know they regressed with stuff like, and so to wrestling fans, this kind of stuff is huge. If you're not a wrestling video gamer, then this probably won't mean much to you. But like when you're walking out on your entrance, if you have a title, right, the title should fit around the waist the right way, and it should go under or over the clothes, however your attire is. Where they got belts going through people's jackets and all kinds of stuff is going on. So, and when you consider the fact that part of the game, there is no interaction between 3D models, so it's less. There's less room for people to give an excuse as about what's actually happening, you know. So you're looking at it and you're like, bro, that just looks ugly. And if you think about it, the entrance and the victory scene, that type of thing, that part of the game is all about the look.
Yeah,
it's all about the look because you're looking for the authenticity that you see in the WWE, presentation.
Well, that stuff can take away, man. I remember early in the year when 2K had the problem where the names weren't appearing. That was even though most people are just grinding my career for their points, that really took away from it, and everybody was talking about it.
Yeah,
even people who they're just grinders. There's like I want my name on my jersey.
Yeah,
it like totally killed immersion and really took you out of it. And so with WWE. Immersion is even bigger, right?
It's even bigger. It's even bigger. And Crazy Girl just said the hair is bad. The hair is terrible. The hair looks like big wet pieces of construction paper. It's just bad, And so Kerry Williams is saying they should have stayed with Ukes. I don't know that I agree with that. What I think is, if you were going to break away from the studio that has been carrying such a heavy load, you needed more time, and the game should have come out later, or you should have maybe even just skipped a year. And I think that would have been the best thing to do. And I'm actually going to write an article about what I'm about to say right now, and what the benefit that WWE has And obviously, there's all these different licensing deals and agreements that 2K has with WWE about how frequently they're going to produce a product and blah blah blah. But what you have with WWE that you don't have with other sports games is that there is no season, right? There's no off season. So there's no beginning of a season to kind of take advantage of. The WWE is hyping their product all year round. You could effectively, the WWE has 4 major pay-per-views every year, right? Royal Rumble, WrestleMania, SummerSlam, and Survivor Series. Those are the big 4. So they like to do things around the way they do 2K. WWE 2K is the hype begins around SummerSlam. The game comes out right before Survivor Series. That's the way they like to do it. You could have effectively switched that and said, all right, hype's going to begin around Royal Rumble, which is the beginning of the year. And it's after Christmas, which is another issue. And then it comes out around WrestleMania. But to me, if you look at WrestleMania, WrestleMania is such a huge event and people are so hyped about WWE everything. I don't think that that's a bad time to release their game. They are trying to capitalize, of course, on the holidays and all of that sort of thing. So their game, it comes out, late October. You got 2 months before Christmas. It can be a Christmas gift and all that. I'm sure that plays a part. But because of this particular situation where you're switching studios, you needed more time to get this game right. The other thing is, though, this is probably the last version exclusively available for PS4, Xbox One. Now, normally what that means is you get a really strong sports game. That usually means that last year, because they dump in everything that's been kind of circling around the pool, and but 2K has pretty much kind of bucked that trend because NBA 2K released with a bunch of problems. And now WWE 2K is released with a bunch of problems. To be honest with you, NBA 2K was in a much better position or situation than WWE 2K was upon release, because there were at least things about NBA 2K that you'd be like, oh, okay, this part's messed up, but we can do this right now. Or this part, because the game is just so big.
Yeah. Although
WWE 2K was just...
It's interesting because if you look at some of the other sports games, from what I've seen, they are getting more polished, and 2K had a strange misstep this year in terms of polish. I mean, in terms of gameplay, I like the game way better than 17 and 18 and 19.
Oh, yeah.
Like for me, gameplay-wise, easily the best
gameplay-wise.
2K since 2K16. And my team, I only dabbled in it last year, but I find my team to just be one of the best sports game modes.
I think it's the best sports game mode in existence right now.
When we talk about 2K, it's really about the structural stuff, right? It's about the patches, the constant patches, the bad communication, the kinds of problems that they have where people are getting blue screened and stuff like that. Like, this is technical issues that they had, even though the servers have been generally good in terms of stability and stuff like that. It's just when you play, it's not like when you play, you're getting like insane games like before where you could never connect and stuff like that. That's been a little better than in some of the bad years, but the blue screening and the crashing and the errors, inexcusable, and it's going on for entirely too long.
I feel like with everything that was wrong with WWE 2K and everything that was wrong with NBA 2K, I really feel like all of it would have been so much more acceptable if there was more communication.
I totally agree with you, especially in the case of 2K. Like, I don't obviously talk to the WWE 2K community very much, but with the 2K community, I know obviously several of the developers and the people working there, and it's really sad to see, like you said, how a lot of this could have been mitigated, because arguably their biggest mistake of the year is still a PR mistake. It's still that Ronnie 2K told people they'd be able to respec their builds. Those watching the show, if you're not familiar with the term, it comes from MMOs and RPGs and stuff. It means you'll be able to take all the actual points that you have from your build and recreate it with a much lower cost to building that build up in the first place. So if you're unhappy with the decision you made in the beginning of the game, you get to change that decision. So a lot of people made their builds very hastily and dumped, $30, $40, $50 worth of VC into that build, which, by the way, I don't think anybody should ever do. But, and with the belief, I'll be able to make them an inch taller or their arms a little longer or a little shorter if the shooting is this way or if the speed is that way, especially considering 2K's going to be patching the game. There's some people who made characters that played one way when the game released and play an entirely different way now that the patches have adjusted the character. And in games where they do that, the characters are locked into stone and you just have to learn a new character. This game, you actually put money and a lot of time into building that character. So to not have any form of respecing is one thing, but to be told that you'll have it and then not get it is really is one of the biggest flubs in gaming that I've seen. That's a bad look for me.
Yeah, it's bad, man. It really is bad. I mean, and it's bad because it's just bad because there's no sufficient communication. All you had to do, all you got to do, you could still do it. You can still do it. Just all they have to do is say, hey, like I tweeted something yesterday, right? And it was about the patch notes, right? I don't know at what point that they decided that they didn't have to tell people really anything in the patch notes, because essentially any of the fixes that they do, they don't tell anybody like, we fixed this, we fixed that. They do these 3 bullet points and go a bunch of general fixes, but then the things that they talk about are all like promotional stuff. Well, we just added My Player Nation, and it's like, okay, bro, it's like it gets to the point where it's just bad customer service, because it's not, you have an ongoing product, you have an ongoing product, a product that people are paying into. This is what they're doing, right? So y'all have a relationship, that's not a one-stop shop. It's not like it used to be. You go to a store, you buy the game for $59.99. There's no such thing as a patch. The game's broke, it's just broke. That's the way it used to be, right? It's not like that anymore. And there's no additional money. There was no additional money to be spent on the game. You still want to collect people's money throughout the entire cycle of a game. You still want that. So you can't talk or act like you don't know that there's problems, right? Or it's almost like it's an insult, right, to the fan, to the customer. And I didn't used to feel this way, but I over the last year or so, I feel this way. It's like it's an insult to the customer to behave as if the customer is not smart enough to know that there's problems.
See, that's right there. I think that's one of the worst things about 2K is you feel a certain disrespect to the community. And I'm not saying that this is intentional, but this is how it comes off. And I think this is why the community gets mad, because when something promotional is up, it's really easy to get responses from them. But when they have problems, either you hear nothing, or sometimes you hear this PR talk from people that's not like talking to an actual human being. And I think this is a very, very poor strategy for dealing with your customers, particularly when your customers are a community, right? It's not like other games where people are just playing the game, minding their own business. You are banking on people communicating with each other for the ecosystem of your game, right? My team has an auction house where people are going to talk about what's valuable and what's not valuable. That's a community. People are going to be talking about builds in my career, right? And when I say my career, I mean program, rec, all that stuff, park. They're going to be talking about what builds are good, what badges are good. So the fact that we don't know what boosts actually do, that's an insult.
It's silly, man. Because, it's almost like, it's like, okay, you ever see somebody who is like they have these rules in place, right? And for whatever reason, the rule was put in place at whatever time it was put in place. Maybe it made sense when you originally made this rule up for how you were going to like conduct business or do something. But after a while, the rule becomes antiquated because the entire industry has changed and all of these different things have happened. And now this rule that you used to have just doesn't make any sense anymore. So this keep everything close to the vest, don't share this, don't share that. That rule just doesn't really make a lot of sense to me anymore, because in the era of social media, with a fan base and a community that is as large as 2K's is, trying to like not tell people like what a badge does, trying to not tell people how to get a boost, trying to not tell people what contributes to ratings, trying to when you put out a patch note, I mean, take a look at a patch note for Madden. Take a look at a patch note for FIFA. Them joints are like, you just scroll. And I'm talking about, sometimes I just look at them and be like, oh my God, I don't even know what that does. I don't even know. But I appreciate, because you know what I do know? There's some fan of whatever part of the game that particular thing affects, that they're like, oh, good, I'm glad they put that in. That might not be my part, but there's somebody like that. And 2K used to do that, because I just looked at a patch note somebody sent me from NBA 2K15. And I'm talking about full patch note, had all the information in it. Boom, 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 boom.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know why that stopped. Because here's my thing. On an annual release basis, I already know these games are not going to be 100% finished when they come out. They're not. Not if they plan on adding any new feature. It's not going to happen. I already understand that. I know the dynamic of the situation. And I know that they're not going to stop making annual releases, not as long as the licensee is saying, we want you to put out a game every year. So my thing is, I'm reasonable enough to say, all right, there's going to be patches. Things are going to, but let's just talk. You know what I'm saying? Let's just talk. Let's just talk through the patch notes. Let's just talk through this whole thing and just say, hey, you know what? Like, I really appreciated this. I went to the WWE 2K event, right? And we're sitting there and we're about to start playing. And Lionel Jinx, the creative director for WWE 2K, really cool guy. One of my favorite people that I've ever met in this whole gaming thing. He tells us from the very beginning, Creator Championship is not active yet. It is going to be active in a patch that comes out after post-release. And there were people in the room who are diehard Creator Championship people, right? I love creating my own championship. I come up with all kinds of weird stipulations for it, all kinds of stuff, right? So a couple people went, oh, and then, but 5 seconds later, they were like, oh, okay, great. And that's how easily people will get over it if you just tell them. Nobody's stupid in gaming like that anymore. Like, it's not, this is not 1985, where you can like have a secret in a game forever. It doesn't go that way, bro. You got to tell people this isn't working. All right. I know it's not working because you tried it already, and it's now this freaking thing is trending. Just say it's not working. We're working on it. And when it gets fixed, say it's now fixed. That's it.
Sam I am makes a great point. He said about, we talked about not telling people what all of the badges do. The fact that we have to rely on people like 2K Labs to go in with modded controls. And there's some badges that are impossible to figure out, like volume shooter, because you need to be playing in a live environment. But it reminds me of UFC, how they went throughout the year and kept updating with
all day
in the game, right? Like, this is what's new. Here's some more information about these techniques and this element of the game. It made it so much easier to understand. Czar's putting in such great work. Like, his Clippers freelance is identical to what I saw when they were playing the game. It was crazy. I was just gonna say, like, even when it comes to basketball, I do think they have a responsibility, because if you want this game to be more competitive, you need your players to be as aware of the tools that are at their disposal as possible. And I think 2K, I think half of it is they're stuck in the past where they think we want people to figure out these things. It's like, dude, people are going to figure out all of this stuff. And the thing is, when they're in an online environment and you only have 1 year of competitive play in this game before everything changes again, you're wasting our time with this. We want to get as good as we can as fast as possible and not be figuring out the game 6 months in because you were hiding the information, especially with some of that information cost VC. Like,
this is what I'm talking about the secret thing. This is what I'm saying. You're keeping these secrets, and it just doesn't make any sense anymore. It doesn't. The world is too big, and information travels too fast, and analysis happens too quickly. It's you're here. So you know what's so funny? The NBA 2K is patterned after a league that is the most progressive and transparent of all the major sports leagues, but it functions the exact opposite.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? Like the NBA is releasing last 5-minute reports. They're doing all this kind of stuff and I don't even like the last 5-minute report. Don't tell me you blew a call that cost my team the game. You're not going to replay the game. All you doing is going to piss me off. You know what I'm saying? Because now but I get it. I understand it, what they're doing, especially because this is all fallout from the whole Tim Donaghy referee thing. They don't want anybody doubting their integrity of their game. 2K needs to do the same thing. You should not allow anybody to be able to doubt the integrity of the way you run it. I'm not saying people are crooked there, but what I'm saying is the lack of communication makes it appear that way. Mm-hmm. It makes it appear that there's an underhanded agenda. And when you give people that to play with, that's what's going to happen. And like, if you could combine EA and 2K, you would have everybody would be happy with their company, because EA has far better communication with their community, far better. But I actually believe that 2K has more talented people.
They just have more talent, yeah, generally, depending on what game you're talking about.
Yeah,
I like FIFA a lot whenever I play it. But.
Yeah, FIFA's really good, but if you play Pro Evolution Soccer, you'll see that their gameplay people are actually better.
I used to play PS a lot, actually.
Yeah, their gameplay people are better, but it's not enough.
Fan to play 2 soccer
yeah,
games.
It's not enough better to compensate for all of the licenses.
Yeah,
and that's what happens
too.
Yeah, the modes, because because with Ultimate Team and FUT Draft and all that, and even like the Journey when they had that, it's not enough. The gameplay is better than FIFA, but it's not enough better for you to be like. Now PS has an insane creation community. Mm-hmm. I'm telling you, because they got a creation suite in there. You can make everybody from the English Premier League that they don't have, and all kinds of stuff. But a lot of people don't want to be bothered with that. And why would I be bothered with that if I could just play FIFA and they got every license known to man? You know what I'm saying? So it's just, that's kind of how it ends up working. But 2K, to me, they have more talented people, but they are trying to run under this line with this with this release cycle that they had to keep shrinking every year. Mm-hmm. And I just think that I haven't been I'm frustrated with the way 2K has handled some stuff, especially this year. I really feel like there's a lot of things that they could have avoided.
Oh, absolutely. And I think what frustrates guys like you and me is we obviously know, some of the devs, particularly close with Czar, but there's other guys there that, will DM or whatever, has spoken to, met in person, and you want to help them with the undeserved stuff that they get. Mm-hmm. Right? You want to have a reasonable community voice so that the community gets what they want, and the devs are able to do their jobs and interact with the community without constantly being harassed, without constantly being trolled and all that other stuff. But they're so bad at communication, it makes them really hard to defend.
And some people, like Bro Matt is saying, it's about that lucre. It's really not. If anybody, like, I personally know about, like, if you work for 2K, I haven't ever worked for 2K, but I've known people who have had, different jobs and business relationships with 2K. And everybody that I know who has ever had that, who has ever shared information with me, they will tell you 2K's not cheap. They will pay. They will pay. They will pay you. They will pay you. So I've never had anybody who's ever worked with 2K tell me anything different. So it's really not that. It's not about a cheapness. It's about they're dismissive about some of the wrong kinds of things. And I think that they are a prisoner of their own success to a degree.
Yes. It's hard to get successful people to change.
It is very hard to get successful people to change. I mean, they're selling 10 and 12 million copies every single year, man. And they're selling 10 and 12 copies with the same face and representation that they have. And everybody can jump up and down and say that they hate Ronnie. Ronnie, I hate you. Ronnie, I hate you. But Ronnie's the face of this game to most people, and it's still selling 12 million copies. So you don't hate him that much.
Right.
It's just that simple. It's just that simple. It's just that simple. It really, it don't even go no deeper than that.
No,
you know what I mean?
I was looking at, and I'm not going to be as candid about this as I'd like to be, but I was looking at his latest. There was some tweet.
I know exactly what you're talking about. I know exactly what you're talking about. It was because B dot tweeted it. It was about how players who play real basketball, how they complain about what happens in 2K, and then he tweeted, "Oh yeah, but you forgot because you forgot to blame me for the game's problems."
That's such like, and the thing is, people think he's a PR guy. His actual title is
Director of Brand Marketing.
Influencers. Yeah. It's in his title now.
Mm-hmm. Right? They changed that because it used to be the Director of Brand Management.
Now it's like Director of Influencers Management or something like that.
Okay.
Which basically means he rubs elbows with celebrities and people who have a lot of followers on various social media accounts. Like, the guy doesn't make the game or have much to do with the game. So, and he's not even a PR guy. Like, they literally don't have a PR guy.
They do have a PR. They have a PR.
Who grab the mic.
They had a PR guy.
Was you LD2K?
No. Ryan Peters was the senior public relations manager, but he wasn't a frontline guy.
Well, that's what I mean. They don't have a PR guy who talks.
They don't have a community manager.
Yeah. Well, even not just that, but like sometimes in some companies, they'll have people that it's their designated job to speak for the game, not necessarily to the community, but even just with like IGN and stuff like that, and content creators and blah, blah, blah. They're not really community managers. They're just the people who answer questions to the public, right? A community manager specifically deals with your competitive, grinding community and keeps up with the updates of the game, blah, 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 blah. But there's still people who's just supposed to come out and say, hey, 2K is coming out. Hey, this is how much it costs now. Hey, it's being released in this, territory and blah, blah, blah. They don't even have one person who does that at like E3 and the big conventions and stuff like that. Now, whoever grabs the mic at 2K is their PR guy right now.
Well, I'll tell you, okay, so every time I've ever dealt with Ronnie, he's never been nothing but nice to me. Mm-hmm. Nothing but and I've dealt with Ronnie, man, 50 times, maybe more. So, I mean, I talk to him fairly regularly, right? Fairly regularly. And he's never been nothing but nice to me. Never been nothing but nice. There are times though that I see stuff on that, his a response or whatever. And I'm like, yeah, I wouldn't have said that. You shouldn't have said that. You shouldn't have said that or whatever. But at the same token, I do also understand, as a human being, sometimes people start to get on your nerves and you start taking little shots at people. But the same token there's a trade-off, right? He is in a fantastic position. Mm-hmm. He's in a fantastic position. I mean, just overall, man, a lot of people could say whatever they want, but if they had Ronnie's job, they would be just over the moon, mm-hmm. right? Because bro is paid well to do what he does. He is paid well. it's just sometimes, and because of that situation, there's a trade-off. There is a trade-off. You are indirectly or inadvertently, or however it became, the face of a product that is geared toward young adults. That's what you are. So because of that, you're going to interact with some people who are irrational a lot. You can't allow yourself, and I struggle with this myself sometimes, right? Because a good deal of the content that I create is about gaming. So I deal with this same age group that he deals with all the time. And there are times that people come out their mouth with some stuff and you want to say something crazy back. Sometimes you do, sometimes you don't. It just depends, right? And it's always better when you don't, though. It's always better when you don't. And it's just tough, man. It's just tough. I just want them to start to communicating more effectively with the community. And I'm telling you, I really think that will resolve a multitude of these issues. Just communicate. You don't have to. I don't think anybody is reasonably expecting 2K to be a perfect game, but it does. But to me, you don't have to be a perfect game, but there's no excuse for not having perfect communication.
That's an excellent way to say it. All right, so before we wrap this up, just wanted to note that Draymond Green got hurt and went to the locker room and looked like he was in excruciating pain.
Oh wow! And they losing 14-0.
Well, right now it's 16-4 on the feed that I'm watching, but yeah, it's 4 points in almost half the first. Well, now they got 7. That's not a good look. If Draymond goes down, I don't know what they're gonna do.
If Draymond goes down, I'd consider trading Steph Curry. I'm telling you, because you got to blow it up, bro. Because he's 30 already. He's 30.
Nah, you just gotta.
And I love him, but he's 30.
Who's Steph?
Yeah,
that's fine. You just trade Steph Curry. You wild.
Man, think about how you could set yourself up, though.
Well, he's only 30.
Yeah, I know, but I'm saying, just think. I mean,
he's 30, not 35.
You got to ask yourself, though. Clay's coming back from a torn ACL. If Draymond, if Draymond is serious, I thought it was ACL.
It might be. I thought it was MCL.
If Draymond's significantly injured, man, you about to have Steph go through a season by himself. Him and D'Angelo Russell.
Yeah. All right. So you're gonna play. You're gonna be Kemba Walker for a season. He'll live. He gonna get the summer off.
No
playoffs out west. Get fully rested. Come back strong next year. See, that's why the Bulls trash. They got fans like you.
I'm just telling you, man.
This why y'all suffer.
It's not about him not being great. That's exactly why you would do it, because he is so great.
Who in the NBA is worth that you could trade for, right? That you could actually get, that's worth more than the ages 31 to 34 of Steph Curry? Who's worth more than that right now?
A combination of a star and a couple picks.
Now I need a name.
See, it's got to match up from a money standpoint, and he makes a gazillion dollars.
Mm-hmm.
So that
you said trader. This is your idea. I'm just asking for some follow through.
Okay.
I just want the people to hear how your brain works.
Okay, I got.
You already know you crazy. I just want
I got something for you. I got one. I got one you gonna love. You gonna love this.
Not Derrick Rose.
No, well, see, I didn't say that. Now I didn't say that. I got one. Is he
involved in the trade?
I got one for you.
What you got?
I got Julius Randle, Marcus Morris, and Bobby Portis, and 3 first-round picks.
Give me a serious one. Give me, come on. You came. You said you want to trade. You want the Warriors to trade.
I'm telling you, and you have to. You got to throw in RJ Barrett.
So you think, and I mean, I'm all about RJ Barrett. But you think he's better than if we could get Steph Curry?
No, he's not better. He's not better.
No, I'm talking about the deal. Y'all hear this? I'm not going to debate this. I'm gonna leave. Let me get another one that's not my Knicks. Give me another one. I mean, I think that's utterly ridiculous. But
ridiculous from which side?
If I have to explain it, I'm not gonna.
Tell me from which side.
You know what? I just want to. I think we should close it.
No, I'm saying tell me from which side. Where is it ridiculous? From which side?
If we could get Steph Curry, we would trade Spike Lee. We would trade Robert De Niro. Every player on the roster. They could have the coaches. They could have Fizdale. Fizdale could just sweep the floors in the new arena as far as we're concerned.
So here's what I'm saying. When you trade a player of that caliber, you're not going to get fair value. That's not going to happen because you're trading a transcendent type of a star. If you ever get to a place where you would consider that, it's because where that star is in his career and what they have left playing at that level, you don't think that you can put together a team around him that will get you back to a championship within his window of being great. Right?
Oh, I think you could, though, because A, he's a shooter, and B, he's 30, not 30. Even if he was 32, I guess, not even that, man, because at his size and the fact that he missed a lot of games early.
I say the only way I would even say this is if Draymond has a serious injury where he's out for the season. That's the only way I would.
Absolutely wild, and now I'm glad.
No, I said that's the only way. That's the only way.
I don't care if listen. God bless him. If Draymond never plays again, what you said is crazy.
Now that what Bro Matt just said is interesting. Steph Curry to the 76ers for Ben Simmons and Tobias Harris and picks.
You would be delivering a championship to Joel Embiid.
You would be. You would
do that. Why would you do that?
Well, what difference does it make if you're not going to win this year?
This year, I'm saying the next 3 years of Steph Curry. They could, when Clay and Draymond come back and they have whatever assets they could get for D'Lo, they'll be fine. They'll be fine.
Fine to do what? They're not going to win a championship, man.
They'll be in the conversation in the year.
No, they won't, man. They won't be. They need another guy. And they need another.
They have D'Angelo Russell, though. They can get somebody to add to Steph, Clay, and Draymond.
They need another significant presence. The bench is freaking horrible.
Again, I'm really confident in the Warriors front office being able to, with the core that they have, stay in the conversation for the championship.
This team is not. They're a 5th or 6th seed.
Okay, right now. Okay.
Which means if you're a 5th seed, you need another significant presence to be anything more than that.
Right now, at this point in his career, Ben Simmons is so far away from the value that Steph Curry provides. That's just incredible.
Ben Simmons is very young, and he also has size.
I mean, he's 6'9". There's a lot of people 6'9" in the league.
He's not 6'9".
He was officially measured at 6'9".
Did he officially measure at 6'9"?
Yeah, check that.
I thought he officially measured at 6'10", 6'11".
Now they measured him officially at 6'9". That's what I read.
He's a big guy. Even still, he's a big guy. He's bigger than Steph, and they play the same position essentially.
Yeah, Steph plays it a little better than he does.
Yeah, he plays it better. This is not about if Steph is a freaking amazing. This is exactly why you consider this, because to me, you always want to be proactive with a rebuild as opposed to reactive. Sure. You don't want to try to rebuild when you've gotten to a place where your major assets, their value has significantly declined. People make this mistake all the time. They hold on to their stars too long. The Lakers held on to Kobe too long.
Listen, we're not going to get into a Kobe conversation. We try to distract us with this.
I'm just trying to tell you, they held on to Kobe too long. That was a business decision.
If you were having this conversation, and we can actually use Kobe as an example. If you were saying this about him when he was 30, you would have been wrong. Steph is 30. It's not 30, but Steph is 30. That's my point.
But their games are not but they're not the same guys, and they're not even in the same situation. All of Kobe's championship level talent and teammates weren't falling apart around him. And Kobe didn't have the history of injuries, missing games like Steph has.
Well, Steph is fine.
Okay.
Yeah. I think you wild.
Hey, you know what? I'm just telling you, man. I don't
this
think
man would trade Steph Curry. Just so y'all know what I'm dealing with.
So I freaking love Steph Curry. Okay, so let's just put that out there. Steph Curry is the greatest shooter that ever lived, and he is a top 3 point guard that ever lived already.
Breaking news.
That's what it is. That's what it is. So I'm not saying do this. I'm not saying do this or consider doing this. I'm not even saying do this. I'm saying consider doing this. I'm not saying it because he sucks or I'm devaluing him. I'm actually valuing him just that much more because I think moving Steph gives you the type of base that you could literally launch the beginning of another dynasty. If you draft correctly, of course, which is what they did when they set this one up. They drafted correctly.
I'm glad you said this because I believe that in the future this will help me win
I'm just trying to help you.
You made this season easy.
I'm just trying to help you out.
Now I get to introduce you as Brian.
I'm just trying to help you out.
Who would trade Steph Curry?
I'm just trying to help you out.
30 years old. He has 3 more years of his time left.
He absolutely has years of his prime left. 100% he does. That's exactly why you do it, because you can clean up.
I don't think you can clean up. I think the goal is Steph Curry, not the means.
The goal is not Steph Curry at 31.
Not the tool. He's the thing you build.
At 31 years old, with all his teammates falling apart around him.
It's just a year. It's just one season. It's one season they ain't going to win a championship. He blow it up.
They didn't win the championship last year either.
No, but we're talking about this season. You're saying because of this season,
it's going like this.
They're hurt.
It's going down, man. The Warrior dynasty is declined. It's in decline. It's not coming back up. It's going down.
Again. I hope you guys are we good?
It's not. So y'all, you mean to tell me you think that the Warrior dynasty is where it was or still on the incline?
So what you did right there is, so what you're trying to say is, I'm not trying to say anything aside from you are crazy for saying Draymond Green got hurt, you would trade Steph Curry.
I said if Draymond Green has a serious injury that will cause him to miss the entire season or something to that effect, where his contributions is not going to be there for Golden State for the majority or all of this season, the rest of this season, I would consider it.
Okay. And that's what I'm saying. That's nuts. But I'm glad you have the confidence to say
you got to have the balls. You got to have the ball. Now, Infinite Wisdom just said something that made a lot of sense, though. Even though all of those tickets are pretty much already sold. But he said they just moved into a new arena. They still need to sell tickets. Curry is box office, as Stephen A would say. And that is 100% true. That is true. And that's another Kobe dynamic. I think that has a lot to do with why they held on to Kobe, because Kobe's Kobe. He's coming down to the end and I get it, but I'm just saying. I think the Lakers agreed to set themselves back a couple years from their rebuild to let Kobe go out the way he wanted to go out. That's what I say.
I'm letting it go because I'm not going to get into it.
I just wanted to help you.
We will have many Kobe topics in the future, I'm sure.
Yes, because he hates Kobe, and I don't know why. So it's okay.
I'm not going to do it, man.
Okay, don't do it. Don't do it.
You ain't gonna bait me.
All right. Well, I appreciate everybody watching, as always. Even though I'm so tired of having to talk sense into all of you guys. Especially Sam. Sam, stop. Okay, stop it. All right, so I appreciate you guys watching as always. God bless. Oh, now you woke 1989. Now you're awake. Now you're awake. You're awake.
I hope you didn't miss none of this show.
Now you're awake.
This guy said some crazy stuff this episode.
Now you're awake.
Record this to memory because this stuff will be important throughout the season. I forget nothing. Let me get a regular Ray in the chat. God bless and peace.
Yes. Peace. Oh my God.